Okay, it was hectic. I did everything that I normally do before starting in the last 2 minutes since starting. Uh, put stuff away. I think I turned on. Yeah, turned my mic on. I've got a new toy. I'm going to bring it in right now. Show it off. I don't have a spot for it yet, but we'll work on that. Oh, God, it's heavy. Ugh. Here we are. It's one of these things. Well, it's still got a sticker on the front that says, "Peel me off." So I guess I'll peel that off. I literally got it this afternoon. I was out poking around and went into Kohl's, of all places, which isn't a food store. It's primarily a clothing store, but they've got household stuff in the back. And on their clearance, I can move here, but this thing is so big, you're never going to be able to really see what I'm doing with it. Which is why I'm not sure where I'm going to situate this thing. In their on their clearance rack, they had this beastie. I've taken all the guts out of it to clean them because they just came out of the packaging. That sticker should probably come off of there. This thing was 85% off, new in box. Near as I can tell, there's a new model, and they're clearancing the old model. But damn, this thing was a steal. I've always wanted one of these for the pressure cook function, but this one also came with a dehydrator. And it's one of these multi-pot things, so it does supposedly does all the things. I've never had one of these. I've never used one of these. I've heard about them. They were all the rage a few years back when the Instant Pot rolled out, and then all the competitors came out with their own version. So now there's a million options. But I've never used them because most of the functions are covered by things I already have. I do all the things that this device does. There's the pot. I do all the things that this device does without it. So I was like, I don't really want to buy one of these. They're so expensive. Except for pressure cooking. That's the one big thing that I have no alternative for. Even dehydrating, I've managed to pull off sometimes. So when I saw this one on such a crazy sale, I was like, let's go for it. Let's get the thing. I don't know where I'm going to put it. I have such limited countertop space as it is. I almost want to move the camera up to capture more of this, what we got going on here. Because it's too big. It's too big for my show space. Probably too. I wish I had a cover to put on the stove, and then I could put it here. It's close the lid. It's really heavy. Selena. Oh. The thing is, it really wants to sit on a flat surface, so I can't. It's too big for this too. I don't know where I'm going to put this thing. Hi, welcome, welcome. How do you feel about multi-pots? Because I don't know how I feel about them yet. By sheer coincidence, by sheer crazy coincidence, I started thawing out some short ribs the other day with the intent of, maybe I'll do something with them. I don't have too many small kitchen appliances. This one is just too big, and I have a very cramped kitchen. The issue is, this is my workspace for the show, and this thing is the entire workspace, plus it's very tall. Um, so, you know, but no, I actually avoid buying small appliances because a lot of them are redundant. A lot of them do things I've already got access to. Um, which, as I said, is why I put off getting this for so long, is because it was marketed as it can saute, it can steam, it can uh, do all this. The book has a million things. Let me find the book. I'm probably going to need the book handy anyways while I'm using it because I've never used this. Um, but they do a million things, but when you list them off, I do all those things. I can do all those things with a pan. I've got a steamer basket, which doesn't take up hardly any room. Um, I do all the things that this thing does, and I have done them, except for pressure cooking. Um, and I got this for less than I would have paid for a new pressure cooker. So essentially, I got a pressure cooker with all the bells and whistles of a multi-pot for the price of a pressure cooker. Plus, it's got a dehydrator, which is something I'm very excited to have. But yeah, short ribs. I was thawing these out. They didn't quite get all the way thawed out. Um, but I was thawing these out with the intent of figuring out what to do with them after I thawed them out. The trouble is that braising short ribs in the oven, the normal way, takes many hours. They're tough and they take a slow, low heat cook. You can slow cooker them for like 6 to 8 hours to make them perfectly tender. That's not very good for the show. This thing promises to get them to that level of tenderness in 45 minutes with the pressure function. So that's what I want to try out, because that's the thing that I am most interested in with this device, is the pressure function and cooking things like dry beans, tough, gnarly pieces of meat. It seems like magic, right? Uh, so that's the plan. And I've never used this thing, so where did I put the instruction book? I set it down somewhere. Did I walk back in here and lay it back down? No. Where did I put it? I just had it in my hand. Okay, put it here. I gotta clear stuff away. I have no room. Well, the thing is, it's a multi-pot. So the multi-pot does more than just be a pressure, like be a slow cooker. I could treat it like a slow cooker, put everything in the pot, stick it in the other room, and be fine with it. But this thing is the multi-pot. You're supposed to be able to saute in the pan. You're supposed to be able to brown your meat in the pan. So ideally, the thing would do all the functions, and then I can close the lid. So I would like to, for this first, I've got a recipe. I'm following a recipe from Amy and Jackie PressureCookRecipes.com for Instant Pot. This is not an Instant Pot. This is a Ninja brand, but it's the same damn thing. Short ribs. I don't know that I'm going to use it for the sautéing function often, but the fact that it can, and I'd like to give it a try. I'd like to give this thing, its best life. It has a rice cooker function. Essentially, here, let me get a better angle on this thing. Behind the magic. We're spoiling the mystery a little bit. There's the thing. Now, of course, if I want to use it, I need to stand here. So This can't live here. But this is the thing. There's my spice rack right behind it. I'm knocking spices off. So it does look like a rice cooker, but a rice cooker is this big. That's like I said, it's so big. And part of that is because the hull of it is so thick because it is a pressure vessel as well, because it has to be able to pressure cook. So this thing is, well, this is an 18 cup container. But yeah, this thing is, what I'm saying, this thing is big. I need some different camera angles to make this work. A little more than 4.5 liters is the max line on this thing. It's 4.5, and then there's a one little tick above that. That isn't quite another half. It isn't. Let's see. So, a bit more than 4 liters is the max fill line, which is right there. So then there's some head space above it, so it doesn't get, because if you look at the top of this thing, there's a coil in here. I guess we'll find that out too. If the thing is up to the task, you could cook. Now, things I've seen done with these, because one of my friends has one of these, is make a ton of rice. Also, make beans from dried beans quickly. No overnight soaking. You can pressure cook them, and they'll be done like within a reasonable human time span. I haven't even plugged this thing in yet. I have washed all the parts. So I'm gonna do this awkwardly so that you guys can see it. Since I don't think we're gonna use the stove very much today, so you guys are gonna get weird angles today. I guess I can kind of stand to the side and use it, and then you can also see in the top from that angle. Okay, I think we've solved how to do this thing. It's plugged in. I don't know what that means. H6 or high S. Oops. And it has all these, I don't know if you can see the words, it has all these functions. Sear saute, steam, sous vide, slow cook, air fry, broil, bake, roast, dehydrate, proof, and yogurt. And then if you lock it to the middle setting, you get steam and crisp and steam and bake. And if you lock it to the left setting, you get pressure cook, where the whole thing is super secured. So let's get it back to here. Oh, that was temperature, 315, high S. I should have read these instructions before I started. But we're learning it live on the air. Stove top mode. Oh, it probably says too low. 3, 4, high. So it has oil our pan. It's brand new nonstick as well, so oiling the pan isn't going to be mega effective. I could do all those things at the same time and see if we trip the breaker. The thing is, I know for a fact that this outlet I used here is not on the same breaker as the oven. So this shouldn't trip that. I could use them at the same time. I got this at Kohl's, of all places, on clearance. Getting hot in there. We're going to need some experimentation for sure to make this thing work. Gotta keep the instructions handy as well. I know the timer is counting. It's counting up. It's telling me how long it's been on, I guess. Now, the recipe I found is explicitly made for an Instant Pot. And it asks for... Apparently, Instant Pots tell you when the pan is hot. Heat up the Instant Pot in saute mode, which we've got. Wait until it says hot. I would just eyeball it normally. See, the top coil's not coming on, which is good. I guess we're going to see if this gives me any display changes when it heats up. What does this guy do? That button has no function when it's in this mode. And this is just a temperature setting. First step we need to do is brown the short rib guys here. This is going to be an adventure because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm definitely following... Oh, the camera being here is already awkward. Earthquake. Possibly more earthquakes. The book... The book is this fold-out pamphlet. It came with another book. Owner's Guide. That's probably the thing. All the parts. Before first use, remove and discard packaging and stickers. Did that already. Wash the silicone ring. Did that part come off? Oh, it does. Ooh, we should wash that. Probably should wash that part. And condensation collector. I don't know where that part is. I definitely should have read this before I started. Silicone ring. I guess that part needs to come off and get washed. What does it say about saute mode? pressure, steam, broil, dehydrate, sear and saute. Move the slider to air fry stovetop or open the lid. Default temperature will display. We've got low, yeah, it's just 5 temp settings. There's no time adjustment when using the saute, so it's literally just counting how long it's been on. It's hot in there. Do not use metal utensils, obviously. That's all it tells me. It's got heat settings. I guess I just have to know when it's hot. And I can't adjust settings when the lid is open. It's always stuck in this mode. Hi, Cizan. Oh, thank you for the moisten. We are in a new angle today because I'm trying to figure out how to view this thing. Hopefully, the camera doesn't freak out too much. This camera has a sometimes gets into a focus cycle. Yeah, so this has no details or tricks around it, but I'm apparently supposed to wash this thing before first use. So I will take this out and wash it and put it back in the top there. Fortunately, it's part of the top, not part of the bottom. I did wash all the bottom parts. Yeah, the temperature setting. This is the temperature setting right here. It goes from 5, 4, 3, 2, and low 1. So we've got it on high, 5. When it's closed, it has an actual temperature setting that has a number on it. Oh, boop-a-deep. It said boop-a-deep. I guess that means it's hot. It made a noise. I need to watch this real quick before I put anything else in there. Because I was supposed to have washed this before use. Fortunately, we haven't done the steam setting yet, but okay. Okay. I washed everything except this ring because I didn't realize it was a removable part because I didn't read the instructions. I thanked you for the moisten, but I didn't actually, and I drank water, but I didn't actually give you a moisten, so. Okay, let that dry off a little bit. So let me give you a proper moisten. Moist. Hi, Zintax. It is very similar to a big rice cooker. And also, yes, it does have a pressure function. It's the whole shebang, multi-tool, Instant Pot, but not Instant Pot brand. So I'm hot in there. The timer did start over. I think the timer started over because I adjusted the temperature. We're learning to do this live. I'm a man. We never read the directions. I am a little short on space on account of how big this thing is. Fortunately, I have just the tools. Yeah, so this thing, it's I can read all the things that it does. When I close the lid, it'll display them here, because they're options. Well, she's hot. I'll give her that. we got a good strong sizzle, and that heated up quite fast. It's spitting a little bit. I bet you we could close the lid to stop the spitting. This one did not come with the optional glass cover for the pot, so it's just an open top pot. Unless I close the lid of the whole machine. Doing this while the machine is running is probably strongly discouraged by the directions. Oh, that thing is easy to get in there, though. Tell you what. Once you get it started, it just slides on in. Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. Oh, hey, there's the fan. Bookwoman's not watching the screen, clearly. The meat's already in. It's hot. It's sizzled. It's sizzled when I put it in. Here, I'll switch angles for you. There it is. It's already in there. It's sizzling like crazy. We can make that the main angle. Oh, yeah. I think when it beeped, that was the signal that it was up to its temp. Let me wash my cutting board real quick. Get those meat juices off of it. Our goal here is to saute on all sides, sear it on all sides to get browning, because that's flavor. And I should probably be prepping other things while I do this, and I need a place to catch the meat when it comes out, because it will have to come out of there as well, so we can do other things in the pot. Bookwoman, you resubscribed too. For 12 months? That's almost a year. Amazing. Appreciate it so much. Wow, it's been a year. No, it's been almost a year. It's been almost a year. Which makes sense. I think we're having our anniversary in July. Slightly irregular short ribs. So it wanted me to. I wasn't following my recipe. We can put in a little bit of a late salt. Okay. This is gonna be a weird. This is gonna be a weird day with this camera here. I'm gonna back off the camera a little bit, so I can get in front of it a little bit more. Especially since we got the top-down view now. Also gonna get my paper towels handy, because my meat is spitting a little bit, and I'm not used to having something hot and fry over here on the counter. Okay. One final turn for all of them. We're going to get out a plate. We're going to get out our other cutting board. We're going to earthquake the camera a little bit. I need to reach my onions and garlic, which are now behind the legs. Garlic, onion, slightly sprouty onion. Let's get a couple of cloves off my garlic here. How much does this thing want? I've got about half as much short rib as this recipe says, so everything else should be cut down as well. Except for the garlic, which we're going to use the full amount. No, I'm only going to use 4. Only going to use 4. Take a peek at them. They're all getting pretty well seared. I guess we'll take our meats out. Okay. Meat's out. I'm going to turn the temperature down to 3. I feel like vegetables should have a lower temperature than meats. We're going to awkwardly... I've got so much less space to work with this thing here. I'm going to have to take some time with this thing and figure out where it can live, because at the moment it doesn't have a place. We just stumbled across it today, and some of these garlics are going gnarly on me. Wow, garlic is just straight up rotten. Okay, I guess the heat of the summer is starting to get to my my stores. Not often you see a clove of garlic that's just gone completely bad inside its skin like that. Doesn't bode well for the rest of this head of garlic either. Because if one can go off, then any of them can go off. Sautéing in the pot is nice, a nice feature for keeping all the drippings and juices in the vessel that you're going to end up with everything else in. Ugh. Awkward. So far, so good. The sauté function seems to work. It is a little bit spitty. I wish I had a lid. I might have to measure the thing and shop around for just a cheap lid. My scraps. Okay, we're going to move the whole machine there. We're going to move the meat there. So I can get my cutting board up. gonna have to eat a bunch more garlic this week to make sure I use up this head, because the cloves in it are getting a little bit gnarly, and one of them was completely gone. We're gonna go for the old-fashioned side of the knife crush. And mince. We also need to get this onion, which is also getting a little bit gnarly. The heat has not been... Ooh. The heat has not been kind to my root storage drawer. I will say that. I did just pick up some new onions, so I'm not even going to bother trying to salvage that one. It's unfortunate, but it is just one onion. It was the last one. I turned it to 3. There's no real instruction for the temperature in my instructions here, so I am just kind of eyeballing my temperature. Let's get out a new onion, since that onion wasn't super nice. This one's brand new. This one should be good. Perfect. So the controls on this are just slightly different than the Instant Pot, and the recipe I've got is specifically an Instant Pot recipe. So there will be a little bit of learning about the thing just live, which is half the fun, I always say. I've said it several times, I think. So let's get... So yeah, so I turned it down to 3 because I didn't think I wanted it on max for vegetables. Oops. Small earthquake as I bump the camera stand once again. A little bit of extra skin on that onion. Okay. Onions are in. I actually think we do need to turn it up to 4 at least. 3 seems like it's too low. Okay, so it beeps when it starts a new temperature setting, not when it reaches a temperature. So this thing doesn't actually tell me when it's gotten up to temp. It's just, I guess I just have to learn what the various temperature settings for the saute mode are, the way I've learned it with with my stove. When I first got the stovetop, I didn't know what those numbers on the dial meant because they're just numbers. This is the same thing. These numbers don't necessarily mean anything specific. 4 already is sizzling more like I want an onion to. 3 was a little bit too cool. But I'd rather have it be turned down and then back up instead of have it too high. Okay. So we're sauteing onion. We need carrots, celery, and thyme. which I can get started now. Oh, shoot. Well, we're not serving this to anyone, and I just cleaned that part of the kitchen right there, fortunately. I literally just washed the top of my trash can the other day. So we're going to just pick those pieces of garlic back up and put them on the countertop again and use them. Oh, damn it. Okay. If this thing becomes a regular on the show, I am definitely going to have to rethink my layout to accommodate it. No, perfect. There's already a little break right there. Cut off the dried up end. This is not the recommended way to use a knife, but with the awkward angle and limited space, I pushed the thing into the knife instead of moving the knife over the thing. Those are looking pretty good to me. So let's get our garlic in. Review our recipe real quick. I've partially covered it by moving the pot. Chicken stock. I can do chicken stock. I think I have 1 cube left. I do. I have 1 of my homemade cubes left, so that'll be perfect. Saute the garlic until fragrant. It is already fragrant because I was distracted. This thing is extremely non-stick right now because it is brand new, so nothing is sticking at all. But I assume that like a non-stick pan, it will lose that over time as you use it. So I would say if you get one of these, be gentle, because I don't know how difficult it is to just get the inner pot if you ever need to replace it. And also, we should be reducing our usage, PSA, we should be reducing our usage of non-stick coated things whenever possible because, of course, the non-stick coating is creating all those forever chemicals that are poisoning the earth. Speaking of forever chemicals, let's go get some thyme from the garden. Recipe called for dried thyme, but I have fresh thyme, so we're going to use fresh thyme. And I need to use up my fresh thyme because it's getting a little leggy and gnarly because it's I don't trim it. I don't use it often enough. So let's get that guy in there. I am going to let some stems get in there because I can't be bothered. I'm sure there's tons of info on this specific device as well. I didn't take the time to read any of it. As I mentioned, I just got this thing this afternoon. So we're learning it live. I'm almost out of bay leaves. Bay leaf, which does, you know, something. I'm also gonna kind of zhuzh up my spices a little bit. Let's give it a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, lots of black pepper. Tighten up the black pepper a little bit. I might need a new pepper mill soon. This one doesn't quite bite the way it used to. We're going to give it a pinch of cayenne just to wake it up. Okay, that should be good enough. Add your wine. Because what we're essentially doing is we're making a braise, but we're making a very fast braise using the magic. I guess I'm using that wine because it's the only one I've got open right now. I don't know how to pop a new bottle for this. No, that one's too good to be using there. We're going to pop a new bottle of wine for this, actually. Because I need a red, and I have a white open, but the red I have open is a sweet. So you can watch my bottle opening technique. We're going to throw this really creepy looking stock cube in there, get it started before anything else goes in. It's the last of my homemade chicken stock cubes. Had to use it up eventually. This isn't the good one. Where's my good one? There's my good one. That was the one I bought when I couldn't find my good one. And pull that whole thing off because we don't need it. Ugh. Wine, open. Smell the cork because that's what you do with wines. Measure out, what do they want? Half a cup of wine. I don't need that much wine. Some wine, which I could have just poured in directly, but whatever. I've got a wine stopper for that somewhere. I will find it later, I guess. Wine. Since we put wine in, we need to now cook this guy down a little bit, boil off some of the alcohol from the wine, because we're not looking for this to be alcoholic. And once the lid is shut, it won't be able to escape. This is the deglazing step, but our Instant pot is so nonstick new that nothing stuck to it. Oh, we need some things from the cupboard. Need some of that. Soy sauce, fish sauce. This is an interesting flavor combo this recipe's got. It's because it's got Eastern and Western like flavor traditions mixed together. I'm curious as to how this is going to show out. Chemical. Howdy. It's neat so far. The only thing I don't like about it is the immensity, the enormity. It's just I need to reorganize things in order to accommodate this device, which, as you can see, we've moved stovetop cam here over to point at the counter the long way. Although at the moment I can. We're not looking at that right now because we're not looking at the front of the thing. So you can check me out from the back as I stir this at the top. Okay. So this is calling for some fish sauce, some soy sauce, some balsamic vinegar, which I do not have on hand. I only have this sweet balsamic reduction. It also wants some brown sugar, which I am going to say no and fix it with this. How's it going? Welcome in. We're putting some molasses in there. This is the hill I will die on. You should never buy brown sugar. Just buy white sugar and molasses and make your own brown sugar. I'm adding some golden syrup. I can smell the fish sauce all of a sudden. Since I don't have balsamic vinegar and I don't have Chinese black vinegar, which would be a kind of substitution, but not quite, we're just going to give it a splash of rice vinegar. For the acidity that I assume this needs, but we don't get the flavor, the deep flavor that you get from a balsamic. And we put in a stock cube concentrate, but we need to actually put in some water. So let's get the water handy. Let's get our main event back in the main event here. Carefully add the short ribs. kind of orient them so that they are idealized at the top. Okay. There's those guys. Scrape in any drippings from the plate, because that's flavor. Add water. Which immediately kills the bubbling, but that's fine. We need enough water to develop a braise. So they got to poke out the top. Lid closed. Beep, beep, beep. Pressure cook the short ribs. Let's stop the saute function. Let's lock it in. Pressure. $11, $12. Okay, these, I don't know what these numbers mean. Is that just the timer? That might just be the timer. Pressure. Place ingredients in at least 1 cup of liquid. We've got 2 cups of liquid plus whatever was else already in there. Close the lid. Turn the pressure release to seal. Got to do that thing. We can bring us back over here. Hey, it's you guys. Actually, hey, it's you guys. There you are. Use the up and down arrows to the right of the display to adjust the cook time in minute increments. $45. Up to an hour. Oh, if you go over an hour, it starts counting it in hours. Good, good. Does this... We've got high and we've got low. Start. Pre. Select either high or low. Have fun with the ads. High pressure, 45 minutes. Okay, and then we leave that thing to do its thing. And in theory, we should have nice, perfectly tender short ribs that would normally take somewhere between 4 and 6 hours, depending on what method you're doing, in just 45 minutes. It will display pre as it is pressurizing the container. And it won't actually start the timer until it has got itself up to pressure. Okay, and it's locked itself as well, so I can't even get it open if I wanted to without disabling everything and letting it depressurize. Okay, that's that thing. Welcome back. How are the ads? What did you see? Are they still showing that one about the Marines killing trees? I have a plan for this because this thing is pressure cooking. I've chosen the optional not with potatoes section. I don't need to unlock it for anything. No. If I had forgotten something, I'd be stuck. You can't add stuff to it while it's in the pressure cycle. You've just got to disable it. And it gets to live here on the countertop now until it does its thing. Fortunately, my future plans involve the stove, not the counter. Because this is a main event dish, but it needs sides. At the moment, it's just going to be a big piece of meat, which is not a make a plate. That does not make a dinner. That just makes a big piece of meat. So while it's cooking away, we will move back over to the stove angle. Hey, you can see all the parts that I just washed back here. But only temporarily because we're going to look back at the stove. Because while that thing's cooking, we're going to start making side dishes. Probably could just turn that. There's nothing in that corner anyways. Okay, what should I make with this? What do? We probably need a starch and a vegetable. The drippings and all the gravy and the stuff that's in there can turn into a sauce. So we can do a sauce. I already thought about this a little bit. We're going to have couscous because I didn't want to make potatoes. Because the option here was to make potatoes, put them in the pot, and then you could fish them out and they would be the starch. Or you could make mashed potatoes for serving. And I think I'm going to go with couscous because I've got some. And it's less fiddly than mashed potatoes. The thing is making. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? It's making. It's starting to hiss. If the camera abruptly goes out, send help. I'm sure I'll get used to this thing eventually. Ooh, it's steaming. Ooh, the little thingy's moving. The little this thing. This thing went pop. That is the thingy. Doesn't actually say what that thing is. There's no label on it. But I assume it's the indicator of pressure of it building up pressure. What do you guys want to see me make for a side dish? What have we got? What have we got to work with? Oh, I've got a little bit of asparagus in here. Beep, beep, beep. Oh, hey, it's up to pressure and the timer started. Okay, asparagus. That's a terrible angle. You guys can't see anything. We're going to do prep over here on the stovetop because I don't have space currently. I don't really want to move that. Actually, I can't move that thing now because it's pressurized and plugged in. Here's our asparagus. They make little happy beeps. They do. This one times itself too, which is great. So I don't have to worry about forgetting when I put things in because my oven doesn't have a timer. I'm going to leave the book open to the pressure page just so I don't forget. Let's get out a scraps bowl. This has been debunked a million times that people say you hold the asparagus like this and you bend it, and wherever it snaps is the natural snap point. That is not true. You don't hold it like this. You basically hold it way down here, and a little bit pops off the bottom, and that's the natural snap point. So you do lose a little bit. Some of them, yeah. So you really want to hold it as close to the bottom as you can, and it'll snap. Honestly, that one was probably good almost all the way to the bottom. But people snap off too much. I watch them. They snap off way too much of the bottom of these things. There is a little woody part right at the bottom. You do need to get rid of it. It's also, the ends are dried off, so taking the end off, you could do this with a knife. Honestly, the snap thing is cute. You could just do this with a knife, and it would be the same. It would be the same thing. Because the bottom end is kind of dried out from having been cut and then sit around. It is good-looking asparagus. I can't quite see the thing. It is good-looking asparagus. I do need a board. I need a full-sized board to put over the top of here. I was just thinking that. I was actually just thinking about that as a potential solution. Something that I could fit over the top of here to turn it into a prep station. It is good-looking asparagus. Interestingly, it's a little bit old asparagus, so I'm surprised it still looks good, but I guess my crisper drawer has been doing its job. But we're going to use all of it, I think. And I'll just have leftover asparagus to go with the leftover meat, because there's going to be more there than I can use in one go as well. Asparagus is so simple. I don't usually do much with it. What would you guys do with asparagus? I typically would just saute it. Ooh, roast. That's interesting. I typically would just saute it. I think we're going to do that again today. But with a twist. With a twist. Well, yes, obviously eat it. But this is a cooking program. So eating it raw, while an option and tasty, isn't terribly entertaining. La Rupin sauce and roasting it. I don't even know what that is. You've stumped me there, Chemical. Tell me all about it. I think I'm going with something a bit different. Tell me all about it. You've got a new dill mustard sauce. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do with it. We're going to put it in the pan. We're going to oil it, and then we're going to use the pan to toss it around. So that they're all nicely coated in oil. Damn, I was licking my fingers off. I wish I had better dill. I planted dill, and my dill is not doing well. My dill is doing poorly. It has gone to seed very quickly. The leaves are very uninspired looking. It doesn't seem like it's a big success. But we can throw some dill. I've got dried dill. We can throw some dill in this. Swedish fish. The little red candies? I love Swedish fish. The little red candies. Which Parmigiano? Okay, so if I add, I don't want to add liquid mustard to this, but we can add dried mustard to this. I'm gonna concoct all my stuff before I put anything on the heat because I want to use this space to prep. So there's my mortar. We can approximate this with some dried mustard seed and some dried dill seed. Thing is, I should have tried planting the dill seed that I collected, because this was my own dill seed from last year. A bit of salt as an abrasive and flavor. Well, this was my own dill seed from last year, and instead of planting it, I bought a dill seedling, and the seedling is not doing great. And I kind of wish I would have just tried the seed. The thing is, I didn't get it started early enough, so I was like, eh. Okay. That's dill mustard, salt. We can add a bit of garlic powder to it because I was going to go for a garlic flavor, because I always go for a garlic flavor because I love garlic. And some black pepper. Dill and mustard definitely throws a bit of a twist on the flavors I was thinking about. Taste this combination. Whoa. That's a good combo. That's a good combo. We're not going to put that on right away because I don't want it to burn. Keep that handy. I've also got to find out how much couscous is in this little tiny bag I've got. We're going to use up however much is in there, but I need to know for water proportions, because we need about twice as much water as dry stuff. So, how much we got? 3/4 of a cup on the button. So 1.5 cups of water on to boil. Ba-ba-ba. Cup and a half of water, pinch of salt, pinch of salt, and a bit of butter. Interestingly, there was no butter in the short ribs. Probably could have used butter as the initial sautéing fat, but I went with olive oil, so there was no butter. There'll be butter in the sauce part at the end. We'll probably need a little bit of butter to mount the sauce to make it a nice glossy sauce. Glossy sauce. Saucy. Board to the side. Let's start getting that heated up. We can make the couscous well in advance because it'll hold once it's made. They can't say the same for the asparagus. Should be doing, I could make a whole plate. I could make a whole plate out of this. We might kill some time by examining that tuna. Remember the tuna? Remember the salted tuna I had started? Well, that is still coming along, and I'm going to check it out. This might actually be a good time for it. Let's see what it looks like. Get a board down, make sure that that's not hot. That's not hot. That will melt that board. This container right here, contains salt. But if we scrape into the salt a little bit, there's a beast lies beneath. Oh, it's become very firm. Hard even. So I was going to try a different method with this one. And in fact, now that I've got this pot, I think but it should be cold. I was going to say I was going to dry it in the pot, but it should be dried slow and cold. So I think we're still going to do my original plan. It's going to go in the fridge, uncovered, to very slowly dry out. Yes, indeed, it's fish. It's a fish. I didn't. So the last time I made salted tuna, I was making a Maltese method. This, the one I just described, is a Spanish method. And I already kind of shortcutted it. You were supposed to, as soon as it had developed because you can see the salt is pink and kind of soupy. You were supposed to have, after the first 24 hours, changed the salt. And I didn't do that. And I also have left it in there a bit longer than they recommend. So we might actually be too salty for that purpose. But it was a pretty thick piece, so I wasn't... Although I think they actually use whole loins for this when they're making it in Spain. Um, but in theory, this thing should keep nearly indefinitely, even in just this state. Um, Bye, Chemical. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the lurk. I'll try to do something so provocative that you have to come out of lurk just to tell me off. So salting fish, for one thing, is a bit wasteful on the salt. I'm not gonna lie, a bit wasteful on the salt. I've got about a cup of salt here that's just gonna go down the drain. In the winter, I guess I could use it to salt the sidewalk. But for now, I'm just rinsing it away. Because I've got no use for it, and it's gnarly salt. Well, that's that. Salt isn't really a super scarce resource. We've got quite a lot of salt. These recipes that go for salted fish all come from coastal cultures, like the south of Spain. My salted salmon is a Japanese recipe. We've got a lot of access to seawater salt. Um, they also have a lot of access to fish that has to be preserved, so those things come together really well. This thing, it's supposed to air dry. It's supposed to air dry outdoors in the coastal winds, in the salty sea spray. I don't have that. I don't have coastal winds and salty sea spray. So I'm going to wrap it in a paper towel and put it on the rack in my fridge. And then, I guess, take the paper towel off when it's dry to the touch, and let it finish air drying. That's the plan. Our water is starting to bubble. I've got that burner on kind of low, so this didn't come up really super fast. We should get out that lid for that pot. So I have a nice fitted lid. That's the wrong lid. Nice fitted lid, please. Nice fitted lid. Because then, to make your couscous, you add the dry couscous, stir it around, turn the heat off, put the lid on. It's that easy. It is literally that easy. Asparagus, couscous, short ribs, and gravy. I think that sounds like a full meal. We've got your meat, your veg, and your starch. We can have a little bit of our wine with it on the side. But no, you're right. Salt isn't a particularly short resource, and also I've done shopping around and I've settled on. I'm gonna call out a brand here. I'm gonna call out a brand, not a sponsor. Alessi. Specifically this one, kosher sea salt. This stuff is very nice. They're nice, neat crystals of salt, which I can't really show off. I tried Morton's kosher salt, and they aren't crystals like natural crystals so much as they are compressed, and they're a little weird. They've got a great texture for pinching, but they're not very good as like a finishing salt because they don't really have those nice crystals. This stuff is also cheaper than Morton salt. Um, so calling you out, Morton of the salt. Uh, yeah. So I don't want to cook those early because they'll go gnarly on me. I don't want to add the spices to them early because I'm afraid the spices will burn when I'm cooking them. And I don't want to add the cheese until the very end because it's even more likely to burn. We have an ad in 2 seconds. And we're still waiting on the pressure, which is more than halfway through. But we can't exactly check on that until it's done because it's just in its sealed container. I guess I don't have something to do now for several minutes. We should whip up a new something. I did the tuna. That didn't take very long because I didn't want to cut it. I just more talked about tuna. It'd be a good time for something like Words on Stream. Just to chew up a little bit of time. What do you guys think? What do you guys? Oh, there's an ad currently in progress. What do you guys think I should do now? Hmm. Let's see. Content labels. I never. None of my stuff aligns with any of these. Twitch has new content warning flags to make advertisers happy because they can say, I don't want my ads playing on a stream with excessive sex content, even though sex content is already banned. I've never used the tags because I cook and there's nothing here that's pertinent. And I just checked, and in fact, having a bit of wine is also not covered. It's the flag for substance use is for intoxication and not just a hui glass of wine. Yeah, that wine is good, but it wouldn't have been good. No, it would have been good in. Oh, what am I trying to say? It would have been a waste to use it in the braise. Um, Nothing else. There's nothing else really to do with the recipe until the pot opens up. Um, Let me poke around and find my wine bottle stopper. I know I've got one somewhere. I've got this one that I've never figured out how it's supposed to work, and I think it's missing a part. Um, Aha, gotcha. Because I don't want to leave the cork in there. I'm going to use I can just show this off right here. Wine stopper. Wine is stopped. Oh, Tiny Whisk. Where'd he come from? He wasn't invited to this party. How dare? How dare? What is what? This? We can try to figure out how this thing works. I suppose. This thing. It's supposed to be a wine, like a wine topper, but I think it's broken or part of it's missing because it doesn't, because it like it folds down, but there's nothing to it that can grab. So I feel like there was supposed to be something in the middle. Tiny Whisk is always invited. He's extra big now because he's on the top and he's much closer to the camera. He's also slightly out of focus on account of being so close to the camera. So I don't know what this thing. I'll probably just throw it away because it doesn't seem to function. Tiny Whisk. Tiny Whisk. If you can figure out what this is, let me know. I think it's supposed to be a wine stopper that's missing a part. Let's take a peek at our couscous. As long as I'm sort of standing around. No harm in taking a peek. It should have done that. Fully absorbed all of the liquid that was in there. Become a nice, fluffy thing. Keep the steam in there. I'm going to add to it some cheese. I love couscous. It's so easy to work with. You get this nice fluffy starch, and then you can convert it. You can treat it like a mashed potato. You can treat it like a rice. You can add more liquid and cook it down, and it'll become like a risotto. I'm adding some cheese to it in the vein of a risotto, but I guess I'm not gonna cook it into a mush. I just want to wake it up a little bit. It's already got some butter in it, and it'll be served with the gravy from the meat. We can give it a quick taster. Yes, there's a timer. We set a timer when we started. I've moved the camera back. We've got 14 minutes on the timer. So it doesn't tell me when the meat is done. I have to tell it when to stop cooking. Perfect couscous. The little bit of umami from the cheese is great. I am gonna add a bit more. I will say the one downside I think of couscous is that it tends to, once it's cooked, it doesn't keep super well compared to some of the other options. It dries out and it goes a bit stale when it sits around. So I am going to then have to put the lid back on it to try to keep the steam in there to ward off it getting a little bit stale. But yes, the pot, in fact, has a timer. Oop, you lost connection. I didn't lose connection. If you can hear me, Saizan, restart your player page. It seems to be on your end because my end is all sunshine and rainbows. It happens. It's actually it used to happen a lot more, and then I think they fixed it. But more recently, I've seen it coming back where there'll be oh, you lost the entire internet. Well, that's not Twitch's fault. Back when I'm going to put together a little dish of cornstarch and water so we can make our gravy when it comes out. I'm going to call out Twitch now. Putting you on notice, Twitch. Back when pre-roll ads were the main type of ads, I noticed that when I was viewing a channel that I was not subscribed to, I would have mysterious connection issues that forced me to reboot, or not reboot, but refresh the page. And when you refresh the page, it treats it as if you've just arrived and gives you another ad. When you subscribed to a channel, all of a sudden your connection was more stable, mysteriously. And now that mid-roll ads, like the ones I do, are the most common form on account of them changing policies, all those connection issues have mysteriously vanished. Suspicious. Twitch needs to get their act together and stop doing shady nonsense, because I don't know if they were doing that on purpose, but they're so non-communicative and shady about stuff that I'm ready to believe it. I don't know why it's so hard for them to talk to their creators about pretty basic stuff. Okay, we've got some cornstarch water ready to go because I'm going to turn my drippings into a gravy once this thing is done. We're under 10 minutes. it will also have to depressurize once it's done cooking. So it's not like it instantly opens up and is ready to go once it's done. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're making chemicals, mustard, dill, asparagus, which is such an interesting idea. I would not have thought of that. I'm glad they brought that up for us to mull over, because that's a new one to me. Not the concept of mustard and dill together, but putting it on asparagus. I've got some stale crispy fried onions that we should use up as well. I'm going to throw them in with the asparagus because they've gone stale, so using them as is kind of not good, which is why I still have them at this point. Yeah, again, don't want to do the asparagus yet. We're going to use the square white plate for this because that's going to be our best plating option. Oh, hey, I know what I could do. I can show off the last project because I got photos. I actually haven't forgot to post the photo. You'll remember on Saturday I was making ice cream. Well, I made the ice cream and we ate almost all of the ice cream. But there's a bit left, and I will show it to you. So it's pretty firmed up because it's been in the freezer now for a few days. It was a very nice, perfect scoopable soft serve when I served it. But yeah, you can see it sat out and had a little bit of melting, and it receded away from the edges of the pan. I really like these. These are just disposable aluminum loaf pans. These are great for the ice cream. I am glad I went for one of these. That's the almond one. And the one that was more popular by a good margin, was the other one, which I thought came out great. The coffee, which as you can see there's very little left of. Oreo coffee was definitely the hit of the event between the two of these. I maintain that the almond one, which we have more of left, is the better one. I love sweet almond flavor. I'm not going to eat these now because I don't want to have ice cream before dinner, but I probably will have them afterward. In fact, that'd be a good, because I got photos of them in the trays full, but I don't have any photos of them scooped into a dish for service. As a dessert tonight, after my dinner, that'd be a good thing to do. I could take some scoops, make a little dish, grab some photos, and then also enjoy the ice cream. That's a good idea. Who suggested that? We have some minutes left. So we need to wait. We got 5 minutes left on the cook time, and then we need to wait for it to tell me that it has depressurized. Because we're supposed to, according to the recipe, natural release, as opposed to popping the thing and having it shoot steam all over the place. We're supposed to let it depressurize itself. I'm going to look that up exactly what that means. What does that exactly mean? Let the Instant Pot sit until the pressure naturally releases and goes back to normal. It's the most common release used in Instant Pot recipes. Can take as little as 5 minutes and as much as 30 minutes. That's concerning. Quick release is when I toggle the thing and steam comes blasting out of this little hole. Okay. Well, this little thing concerns me a bit because it's not. It spits when you poke it. It kind of rests on there loose. It's clearly holding back the pressure because when I touched it, it spit at me just a tiny bit. But it's also like just barely on there. Whoever invented the pressure pot, not even this one, because this is how your classic pressure pots work too. They got this little weird toggly thing. Whoever invented this, they were on something because this is freaky. It's freaky. 2 minutes left on the pot. I'm going to start. The thing is, I don't want to overcook the asparagus. I want them to be nice. I want them to be nice and tender, crisp. But I don't want to start them too early. I'd rather start them a little bit too late than start them early. Because overcooked asparagus is just sad. So if I didn't already have a starch going, I could do. I've got the cutest butternut squash. I've got the cutest butternut squash I've ever seen, and I want to use it for something. Oops. I've got the cutest little butternut squash I've ever seen. Look at this little guy. Look at this little guy. He's so cute. I'm not going to cook him now because I've already got a starch. I've already got a starch going, and he's another starch. But it's so adorable. And it was like 75 cents because it's so small and they're sold by weight. We'll have something fun to do with that little tiny squash at some point. I actually might have used it today. The whole today's plan was well, I hadn't finalized the plan. I was trying to work out what I could do with short ribs that wouldn't take a million years, and then I stumbled across this machine, and then all of my plans were derailed because suddenly it was, we're going to use this machine today. Boop-a-deep. Now there's a time running. Does the lock... Okay, so it's pressurized and it has the door locked. I can't open it. Here, I can run down all the functions this thing has, because it lit them all up. The timer is to tell me how long it has been done, but I'm waiting for the pressure to release. So this thing's functions are pressure, currently using, sear and saute, which we used at the beginning, steam, sous vide, slow cook, air fry, broil, bake, roast, steam and crisp, steam and bake, dehydrate, proof, and yogurt. And those are all of my functions. And this one came, well, okay, it didn't come with a dehydrator rack, but on the clearance shelf next to it, also being clearanced, was a dehydrator rack that fits this machine. So I picked that up, also 85% off. So I can dehydrate things using this thing. And honestly, to me, it makes total sense that this type of machine could be used as a dehydrator. It's already got very fine temperature controls and a fan and a vent. So it's already got all the things you need for a dehydrator. Why not have it just be able to be a dehydrator? It doesn't have a ton of volume for dehydrating, unfortunately, but it is a nice additional feature. And the fact that it was so cheap compared to, as just a bonus feature for this thing, that's... I'm pretty sure I paid less for it than I would if I was just getting a dehydrator, even a small one. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I am going to now do the asparagus. We're going to do asparagus now. So we're going to turn the burner on to medium-high, and I'm going to let the burner get hot. I'm going to let the coil get hot before I move the pan over to try to hit my asparagus with a little bit of extra heat before it goes too soft. It is cool. This thing's got all the bells and whistles. Well, I don't know if it's got all the bells and whistles. It's got several bells and several whistles. And I'm quite intrigued now to play with it. We're learning on the job today, but in general, I'm very intrigued to play around with this thing and figure out what it can do. You know me, I love preserving things. And if this thing can help me preserve stuff, all the better. We can also try things like... It says it can do frozen fish in 11 minutes. Without preheating? Without preheating. So we're going to try that at some point. This isn't the pressure function. This is one of the steam functions. It says it can steam frozen salmon without preheating in 11 minutes. Right on the top, it's got like quick recipe printed right here. Is it hot to? Pretty warm. It's hard to point. It's on the front of the lid. It's got steam and crisp tips. Potato wedges, 450 for 25 minutes. Frozen chicken wings, 450 for 20 minutes. Frozen salmon, 450 for 11 minutes. You've got to close the lid for the steam function, but it doesn't need preheating to get these. And it's not pressurizing because I'm not locking it to the pressure thing. So all it needs to do is boil the water. So that's like really cool. If it can actually do that, that's really cool. Oh, there's tags all over it. I suppose some of these stickers are supposed to come off of it, right? Oh, we're gonna put the asparagus on the hot pan. Get that going. Yes. In fact, because it's kind of a low volume dehydrator, my plan at the moment is to harvest my herbs bit by bit throughout the summer and dehydrate them as I go, rather than waiting until the end of the summer and doing one big harvest. Because then I can use fresh herbs, but whenever the herbs need a trim, if I'm not ready to use, I've got a fly in here. If I'm not ready to use the herbs at that point, I can throw them in the dehydrator. Because you need to trim your herbs to keep them healthy. They get kind of gnarly if you don't, and they especially try to flower pretty aggressively, which you don't want. Okay, that seems to have worked because I'm sizzling on my asparagus already. We lost a few people. Oh, I've been taking too long. Little earthquake. I bumped my camera. These are crispy fried onions, and they're stale. I think I bought them for one of the cheesecakes, actually, as a topping option. Didn't use very many of them. Forgot about them. Let them go weird and stale. And now I don't want to use them very often because they're weird and stale. So we're figuring out things to do with them, and this is one of the things that I'm doing with them. Okay. Toss around our asparaguses. So the package says crispy fried onions, but what they are is soft fried onions. So the thing said naturally depressurized for 15 minutes. If this thing is ready to go before then, I'm just going to open it. If it's not ready to go at 15 minutes, I'm going to release the thing. That's just the plan. That's what we're going to do with it. Because we also need to turn the gravy that's in there, or the juices that are in there, into a gravy, a chunky gravy, but a gravy for our finished plate. I've got my asparagus on 7, so high end of medium, because as we did with the last time I made asparagus, I want the spears to blister more than go soggy. And also, they're getting to the point where they're cooked, so I'm going to add our mustard dill powder. And surprise, cheese. Surprise! Heat off. They are good. They can finish in the residuals and be good. Oh. Adventures. Adventures in food. They can probably actually come off that hot burner since we don't want the cheese to go completely black. That mustard dill stuff is real good combo. Pardon me, I have a fly and he's just landed in a place where I can reach him. Let's see if I can't. I got him. Bam. He's got. I apologize. I should put on a violence tag for that. Wash my hands real quick. Okay. Hi, Spear. Well, you don't think I should put on a violent content tag for swatting a fly? We are at 13 minutes since the thing went off. And it's still pressure locked. I'm going to follow the recipe, which says 15 minutes. No. The recipe says 15 minutes. If it's not depressurized itself by 15 minutes, I'll depressurize it. You can wait an additional minute and a half. Another fly. 2 more flies. Where are these flies coming from all of a sudden? Flies? The heck? Get that violent warning tag ready. I'm about to go violent on these flies. Where did they come from? They weren't here all day. You know what I should do? You know what I should do? Bring this guy back to the observing position. Just a few seconds. Okay, that's 15 minutes. Can you hear the loud hissing? Ooh, it smells good. Ooh, it smells good. Well, that's quite a lot of steam coming out of it. I don't think this would have depressurized for another quite a while if I had just left it completely on its own. It smells good. It's kind of blowing at the camera. It's not giving me a cloud. I bet if it was cold, I bet if it was chilly, because it's been quite warm. I bet if it was chillier, we'd have a cloud. And there you go. Lid open. And it stopped whistling at me. Um, and the lock is unlocked. The lock is warm. Um, open the thing. Lift here. Now it's very specific to lift here and not here because this bulge on the side is not a handle. It's part of the pressure lock, and it becomes very hot when the thing is cooking. So you lift it here. Let's get our overhead shot. There they are. That one has fallen off of its own bones. There they are. I'm gonna get out a sharp knife, but in theory these should be fall apart tender. In theory they should be fall apart tender. They're gonna want to come out of there and rest, but gently. Where's the plate I was using on them before? It's this one. Give it a wipe down. Because they get served on top of other things on the plate. So we could probably plate them right away. But they have to get out of there because we need to try to turn this sauce into turn this juice into a gravy. So, how hot is this thing? Parts of this are hot and parts of this are not hot. And it's heavy. Okay. Push it over a little bit. Grab our square white plate. It looks good. We will find out about the tenderness once I get into it. But at the moment, just what we've got so far looks very good to me. That is not a serving spoon. Okay, clean that up in a little minute. Kind of rein in the edges of my pile there. Oh, it is definitely delicate. I need the help of the spoon to get it out, actually, which is good sign for it having worked as advertised and given me a tender piece of meat in less time than it should take. Okay, the smaller ones are easier to handle. Okay, that's 2 of them. The other 2 I'm not serving myself right now. They're going to go in a container for later enjoyment. It is literally falling off. It is falling off to the point where I needed a spoon to get it out of the pot, which is a very good sign. I normally wouldn't do this part right in front of you, but I need to get the other two pieces out of there. So my second plate is going to be a storage container with all of the remaining couscous, and then we will deposit the ribs atop it. Push you to the side, push you up. Okay, that one's a little bit easier to grab. So there's a little bit of variance in how fall aparty they all are. They're very soft. But there's a bit of variance. The biggest one is actually the most fall aparting one. Falling apart. Okay. We need to stop that mode. Set us to saute. Turn the heat back on, because we're going to make a gravy out of the stuff. We have our cold cornstarch. This guy can move. Carefully arrange my asparaguses so that they are, I'm going to put some of these crispy onions on the top there. Carefully arrange my asparagus so that you can see that they've been cooked with cheese atop them. This guy's already coming back up to a boil. This thing heats up very fast. You know, thinking about it, and looking at the base, I bet, because the top is an exposed heating coil, the bottom is a big disc, I bet that it's an induction burner, an induction heater built into the bottom, and that's how these things heat up so fast. I bet you that's the tech behind these, and how they heat up so fast, and why you can't just substitute in any old pot in the top. You got to use the ones that they give you. I bet you if you had the right sized steel pot, any old pot would work. So we want the top open because we want to boil this down a bit. And I've added some cornstarch because we want to help it thicken up because this is meant to become sort of a gravy. And it is boiling quite vigorously. But I bet you that's also why it doesn't have temperature settings when the lid is open, because it has no way to gauge the temperature of the base. It's just firing an induction coil, an induction heater. And it's got a thermometer built into the lid that tells it how hot it is when it's closed, but when it's open, it can't possibly know. Sorry, I'm taking some of the magic out of this thing because I'm rapidly figuring out how it does what it does. It's clever. It's clever. And this is a testament, this right here is a testament to induction stoves in general because of the speed at which this thing came back up to a boil, even though it was hot. I'm very impressed. How long does the recipe suggest? We don't need this. I don't need this to be here anymore because we're not looking at the fanciness. Um, okay, set that back to its original spot. Okay, how long does my recipe say I should cook for the sauce? Here, let's set aside and mix some cornstarch and some water. Add it in. It just says desired thickness. Which in my kitchen, desired thickness is coat the back of a spoon. Which I have here. Dip it in. It is not coating the back of a spoon. I want to make sure to get to the meat. Oh, it's so soft. Oh, it's so soft. I'm already impressed with this thing. I haven't even tasted it yet, and I'm already impressed with this thing. Oh boy, and this is a pretty big vessel too. I bet you. Remember that brisket? Remember that brisket tip that I had that I was going to do for St. Patrick's Day, and then it got derailed, and I ended up not using it. I bet you we could do a brisket in here. Pressure brisket. I bet you we could do a brisket in here. Um, I've got ideas are already a rolling with this thing. Okay, okay. We should try some of its recipe. It's like cheesecake. This thing also supposedly is an air fryer, which is a gadget I would never have purchased as an individual gadget, but if it's part of this thing, I'll give it a go. Scrape down our sides a bit. I I don't want to wait for this sauce to thicken up before I taste this, but I also want this sauced. I know, I know. I will taste the spare. No, I won't taste the spare. I wish the sauce would thicken faster, because this is the only thing I'm waiting on now is the sauce. Um, I'm excited. This is so squishy when I poke it that I bet you I could break it with a spoon. I bet you I don't need a fork. I'm certain I don't need a knife. I bet you I don't even need a fork. I bet you I could break this with a dull spoon. Um, this is not no serving spoon. This is my sauce spoon, which we are still pretty far off from sauce thickness. I didn't add as much cornstarch as they suggested, but I had the whole recipe was downsized because I didn't have as much beef to start with. So, uh, this was on my actual stovetop, I would be turning the heat up more to boil it faster to help reduce it. Because at this stage, all it needs to do is boil off and reduce. But this is the maximum heat. So this is probably the one thing so far where I think this has let me down because it doesn't, its max hot is not as hot as my stovetop. Um, I'll tide you over while we're waiting. While we're waiting, I'm going to taste one of these asparaguses because this is not going to get gravied, and one of them was kind of hanging off the end of the plate anyways, so it wasn't good for plating. Let's taste this garlic parmesan dill mustard asparagus. Mmm, mmm, good, good tender crisp asparagus. Nice strong asparagus flavor. The dill comes through in the nose. I'm getting the dill sort of as I breathe. Um, Honestly, it could use more mustard. I think the mustard is getting a little bit lost. I like the tang of the cheese. It's good. I like the combo of the dill and the mustard, but it needs more of the mustard. The mustard is getting a little bit lost, whereas the dill is hitting. And refrying those crispy onions to make them not stale worked perfectly. They have a wonderful crunchy texture to them. That's my verdict on the asparagus. I think that was a good idea. I will probably do that again. There's no reason not to. I've got all the ingredients. I will just amp up the mustard next time. Possibly with a little bit of vinegar, because vinegar helps kind of wake up mustard flavor. That's why they put vinegar in mustards. It helps. It helps. First of all, it helps stabilize the sharpness of the mustard. But secondly, the acidity kind of wakes it up. I could use liquid mustard next time too. That's also definitely an option. I like the idea of using the powder, the ground seed. Um, I don't know that this gravy is going to be ready anytime soon. I almost think this is going to be slower than doing it on the stovetop would be. The thing is, I want the gravy for the photo. which is the curse. That couscous is great. I'll tell you about the couscous because I just tasted some of it by itself. It tastes very pasta-y. Couscous is more like a pasta than a grain in terms of how it's made. It is a flour. It is a wheat-based thing. The little bit of butter and the little bit of Parmesan cheese that's in there give it this not strong, just this sort of slight richness. It makes it taste a lot like if you've ever, probably as a kid, had just buttered noodles with parm. It reminds me a lot of that, but like a more refined version. I know. You're trying to push me. You're trying to push me to finish this. I could add more starch as well. I know. You want to see the end result. Everyone wants to see the end result, but they don't want to see the process it takes to get there. I'm going to attempt to. Oops, that's not the lid that goes there. That goes there. I'm going to attempt to cheat it. By doubling the cornstarch, which is closer to what it originally asked for anyways. Check. It's already a lot closer. We'll give that a minute, and I'm going to throw some butter into it, and then I'm going to call it. Because I tend to agree that this is taking a bit too long. I should have transferred it to a pot on the stove. Throw some butter into it. I should have transferred that to a pot on the stove to thicken up. Because it is taking a bit more than I was hoping for. But now we'll just get that butter melted into it. Because remember, there was no butter in here. We didn't use butter for the base. We used some olive oil, which honestly might also be a factor in the thickness. Although it's so hot, I don't think. No, scratch that. I don't think that's a factor in thickness at all because it's so hot. It's getting there. It's leaving more of a visible streak on the spatula as I go. Okay, we're gonna call it there. Get away from my food, fly. It's almost coating the back of a spoon. It's not perfect, but it's close. Oh, it tastes really good. It's also hot, and therefore will help with the loss of heat that we've suffered by having to wait for it. We also don't need very much of it. It's going to flavor our... let's grab a couple of those carrots that are in there too, just because I want the carrots for our plating. They're nice and orange still, even though I think they've lost all their flavor at this point. Okay. Okay. Calling that the plate. Is this guy hot? Is this guy hot? Power off. Bye. Oh, it says goodbye when you turn it off. I didn't have the camera pointed at it. It says goodbye when you turn it off. I'm going to move this away so that I can have my countertop back. It's heavy. But the base is not hot. Just the sides and the contents. So we'll move that. I've got to get this photo. My light was turned off. I've got to get this photo because we got to eat this. Because you guys have been flies. I got to kill these flies because they just showed. All these flies showed up. They showed up just for stream. Okay, we got to eat this. I made a little bit of a mess on the plate. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, coming back. Coming back. Because we need to taste this thing for real. Put all this effort in. Put all this effort into this thing right here. We got to taste it for real. And I want to test. I've got a fork ready. I want to test if I can, in fact, spoon this meat. Oh, almost. We got it. Okay, you can spoon it. I'm not going to spoon it. It's actually not hot because we had it sit there now. So now it's just kind of warm, which is good because I didn't want to burn my mouth. This stuff, look at how soft this is. Look at how it just falls apart. And it needs the gravy. The beef has such a delicate, soft texture, but it has definitely imparted a lot of its own flavor into the gravy. Because it also has a fairly delicate flavor, but the gravy, the sauce, has a rich flavor. Taking the time to cook that into a thick brown sauce to put over the top would definitely elevate this. It would take some more time, and I'd have to transfer it to a different vessel, I think, to pull it off. But it did the meat perfectly. I am extremely impressed with that device. Here. Behold, as I break it off with my fingers. That's how tender that is. You can pull it off with your fingers. Mm. Okay, this thing was 100%. Well, I say it was worth it. I got it on a ridiculous discount, so it was definitely worth the ridiculous discount. But also, this thing is. Mm, I understand why people went nuts for these when they came out a few years back. Because wow, it was pretty easy to use. It wasn't instantaneous. The name Instant Pot I think is a bit misleading. But if I wanted to make this without it, we'd be strapping in for 6 hours. And I'd have to check on it because you'd run a risk of drying it out on the surface. Whereas in the pot there, the surface is bathed in steam and never really has a chance to dry out, which is another advantage. Um, we are definitely. I'm gonna. This was, of course, I purchased it today, just a couple hours before I jumped on here, so I didn't have time to do a lot of reading or research. Just flip through the basic setup and come up with a starter recipe. It came with a whole book of recipe options as well, so I can read through there and get some ideas. I'm also just going to read about it because we're definitely using this again. I'm going to figure out how to get it into my setup so that it is not filling my entire thing here, so we can actually see it. Because it's neat, but it's just so awkward for the way I've got this set up. I'll have to think about that. It super works though. Uh, Definitely going to play with it more, come up with new things to do. Mm. A successful new toy for sure. We have been running quite a bit longer than I normally do, but that's kind of unavoidable. But let's go share the love with one of our friends. Ooh, who's on? We got to find out who's on. Um, Billy Slay, Foe, Zara. What's Zara doing? Get that tab. What's Zara doing? Zara is playing Minecraft. Zara's one of our friends the from Toka's Cookie Squad that I'm a part of. What's Slay doing? Got all these muted, so I have to kind of eyeball it. We're gonna rate Zara. Zara's a little startup channel just like me, and we're gonna go say hi to Zara Britt. Who you may remember from one of our mini trips over to see LeFay. Zara shows up in LeFay's orbit as well. I'm going to sit down to this absolutely delicious, perfectly cooked thing and a glass of Petit Syrah, which is not the wine that we used in there. It's a different one. Well, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for enduring my nonsense. I got a bit of a handle on this device. Once we've got a really good handle on this device, we're gonna get creative with it, which means I got to use it more often, just on my own time, just to learn the ropes. But so far, extremely impressed. Definitely stay tuned for more of that thing. Otherwise, I will see you next time. That was a weird hand gesture I just did. I'll wave you out. I'll stare at the camera. Bye.